Wir sind jetzt bei Blizzard, um über Hearthstone zu reden. Natürlich über den aktuellen Verlauf von Naxxramas, aber auch darüber, wie es inhaltlich und technisch weitergehen wird. Yong Woo von Blizzard nimmt sich jetzt mal die Zeit, alle meine Fragen zu Hearthstone beantworten. So first of all, thanks for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for coming.
And of course, what we're interested in is how is the reception of Naxxramas? Are you satisfied with how the fans are taking it up?
Yeah, absolutely. The response to Naxxramas has been overwhelmingly positive. You know, what we try to do with Naxxramas is to create new ways for people to experience Hearthstone. So we have 39 single player missions. So if you're, if you kind of want a change of pace from the competitive one-on-one play, we have that opportunity for you. If you are deep into competitive play and have been kind of looking for ways for the meta to mix up a little more, we have 30 new cards, 6 of which are legendary, that we've been kind of piping in week to week. We're on the 4th week out of the 5th week. The Construct Wing just opened last night. I kind of wish I were playing right now, but here I am. And that's been really dramatically mixing up the meta. So I think we really hit the goal of kind of hitting that full spectrum of the, maybe perhaps more casual to the competitive, and the reception's been really great.
Do you have kind of a favorite, meaning which card or which boss do you think is the most interesting for the people, which is going to really change the game?
So I think I'm going to be a little biased here. I personally play a lot of Hearthstone. I love playing Hearthstone myself. I've been playing a lot of Priest. So obviously this week we have the Priest Challenge coming up, and the card you can earn is called the Dark Cultist. And do you play much Hearthstone?
I play Hearthstone, but I don't like the Priest actually. I'm more of a mage player.
Okay, mage is really great too. So if I were to just talk about me personally, I'm super excited about getting the Dark Cultist. I think with Priest, we've always been kind of looking for ways to have kind of more viable early game, and I think Dark Cultist will help out with that, and I can't wait to try it out.
What I think very interesting about how you went about Naxxramas is how you adapted the WoW mechanics of the raid into a card game. Which one was the toughest nut? Which one was hardest to transfer?
That's a harder question for me to answer. I'm the producer on the team, but hardest, I don't know. I think that would unfortunately have to be a question for Ben Brode, who is a senior game designer who's worked on it. I think I can talk about what I felt was like most flavorful from my perspective. I felt like this week is the Construct Wing, and the fight that I am really excited about is the Thaddeus fight. If you played a lot of WoW, like I did, I've been playing WoW for about 10 years now. Everybody remembers a polarity shift, and it's all about kind of trying to like reposition yourself, and if you don't like move in the right direction, like you get polarity shift, and things explode and everybody dies. I felt like Thaddeus fight really kind of took that and put an interesting Hearthstone spin to it, because one of my favorite cards in the game is Crazed Alchemist, and what it does is it takes the card and takes their attack and health and flips them, and that creates a lot of like interesting situation that you really have to think about. With the Thaddeus fight, that happens every single turn. So, you play a 2/7 and you're like, oh yeah, I got a 2/7 taunt, this is great. And then you're like, oh, nope, that's actually an 8/2. And it really, like, the first couple times you play against Thaddeus, it really trips you up. It trips me up the same way Thaddeus used to trip me up in WoW, where I used to be that, dude who would always like, oh my god, wait, no, was I supposed to go left? No, I went right. And then like everybody dies and blames me. So it really kind of forces you to do that mental shift. And then once you get the mental shift, it's so satisfying, because you're like, yep, I'm playing a 5/4, it's gonna be a 4/5, and this is what I'm gonna do. So I didn't quite answer your question, I'm sorry, but I think the Thaddeus fight's like really exciting in that way, and I think it really kind of, for me, it's my favorite mission in terms of the flavor of Naxxramas coming through.
Yeah, but also that's a hard thing to do, to transfer a mechanic like that into a card game, and it's pretty well, I think pretty well done.
I think it's incredible that Brode gets all of it done. He honestly, the first draft of these missions, he kind of cranked him out one a day, and then obviously it took a very long time to iterate. That's really important for us at Blizzard. We build something and then we tweak it and we try again. But yeah, our design team's really awesome.
We're also interested in kind of a bit of data, like do you actually know, or are you interested in how many tries people need for some bosses in heroic mode?
Absolutely. I don't have the numbers here to share with you, but we have all access to how many times have people tried a certain boss, how many times have people successfully defeated a certain boss, what about normal versus heroic, and we made a lot of effort to make sure our designers have access to all of this information, because to us, all of Hearthstone is a learning experience, and we don't make something and go, oh, this is perfect, we figured everything out, this is how much people are going to play this versus that. Really, we build it, we put it out there, and then we get all the data from community feedback, and then from the data mining we do, and then we learn, and then we strive to do better next time. So absolutely, we collect that data.
You also talked about, or you mentioned that the meta game is going to be reshuffled with the Naxxramas cards, and how does that work with the staggering, with opening one wing after the other, because some of the classes already have their new cards and some don't. Did that work out okay?
Yeah, I mean, so again, it's like all of this is like a learning experience for us. Like no one's really done this before with CCG before, and to us that's really important. There are these traditional physical CCGs, and they have a very traditional, like stereotypical way of releasing content, which is here's the card pack, here are more card packs, here are more card packs. With Naxxramas, we really want to mix it up. Like, it's a digital game. What can we do that's impossible physically? What can we do that's no one's ever tried before? And that's kind of why we took the 30 cards and split them up and tried releasing it in a timed manner. Now, on the one hand, I think it's really, really exciting because each of these weeks you have a new homework, like a new adventure where it's like, oh wow, okay, now that I have these 5 cards, what's the best deck I can make? Okay, now I have these 10 cards, what's the best deck I can make? Now we have these 15, instead of like, oh, okay, I have these 30 cards, what's the best deck I can make? And then you're, perhaps feel like you're done for now. But then there's also, questions about fairness, like, I play a priest, I had to wait 4 weeks to get my class card versus a mage who got it in week 2. Does that feel really annoying? Does it feel overwhelmingly frustrating that it overshadows the benefit of doing it this way? These are things we're trying to figure out. Community feedback's really important, the data is really important, and we're learning. So I think next time we do another adventure, I think we'll take those learnings and implement them.
What we hear often from players, of Hearthstone players, is that they have the feeling that there are few decks, and if they don't play those decks, those cookie-cutter decks, they cannot reach a higher rank on the ladder. Do you have any numbers about that? Is there diversity in the upper ranks, and how do you see that? Yeah,
I mean, so one thing that we can see happening is that, especially when like a celebrity streamer. I mean, Hearthstone is so fun to watch that a lot of people, I think, subscribe to these streams and watch them. It's easy that, one streamer could be like, oh, hey, play this deck. This is the best deck. I play this deck and I hit Legendary. And then suddenly you see an explosion of everybody in the environment playing that deck. And I think it creates a perception that, oh, that's the only deck I can play to be successful. And that's not necessarily the case when we look at the data. Like, at the highest level at play, there's a surprising amount of diversity. And honestly, all of these decks are really fighting for these split percentages. So, a deck that's like 51% win rate would be considered extremely good because it has that 1%, edge. A deck is like 53% win rate, that 3% above half and half is considered extremely good. So, we do a lot to kind of tighten that as much as possible by introducing new cards that helps you kind of combat the more dominant deck types, etc. But I do want your viewers and listeners to realize that, these gaps are actually not that big. A lot of it is perception. People should really pick a deck that they're excited about playing and then play that. Because, there are players out there who take decks made only with basic cards like Trump and, a lot of other, celebrity streamers do this, and they get all the way to Legendary. So, obviously, if you feel intimidated by making a deck, if you feel uncomfortable, kind of doing it yourself, absolutely go out to the community. There are amazing community resources springing up everywhere that kind of teaches you, hey, try this deck. Why don't you try this strategy and try it and learn from it. But I do encourage people, once you kind of get through that initial hump and you understand how the game works, make your own decks. Try different things. You're not going to get that much above a 50% win ratio, and rest of the gap is really about you getting better at the game.
And Yeah, Naxxramas isn't finished yet, but people are, of course, are asking what's next. What's next? Will there be new cards or new skins for the ladder or for something else or for bosses? Or are you planning to bring more classes? I think many people are waiting for the Death Knight.
Yeah, a lot of people bring up the Death Knight. That's, you know, honestly, we've seen some like community ideas for different classes, and we think that's really cool. But I think there's a ton of things that are still left to explore with the current infrastructure of 9 classes. I don't think we are yet interested in kind of increasing the design space that way. I think there's so much more to explore with what we got. One thing that we have talked about a little bit before at BlizzCon is that, you know, obviously adventure is one way to release content, but we're also considering releasing kind of more traditional content as well, which would be a new set of expansion packs. So for our next content, that's kind of the direction we're headed. I don't have too much detail to talk about now, but you know, our next content's not going to be an adventure. It's going to be a new expansion card set.
Okay. Last question. Okay. Then the last question is going to be about platforms. Is it going to come on other mobile platforms? Which ones? Is there a timetable?
So one thing I wanted to point out to you and your viewers is it kind of went a little under the radar. We added support for Windows 8 tablets. So now if you kind of have a Windows 8 tablet PC and you can use your keyboard and mouse, and then if you undock it, it seamlessly goes into touch mode and it works great. So please check that out. I have an Android device. I have an Android tablet. So that's something we've been, I've been really excited about personally, and we have a mobile team dedicated to working on it right now. They're actively developing. We're making great progress. So the Android tablet, we're definitely shooting for this year, and it's making good progress. And later in the year, we're also excited to introduce phone versions of Hearthstone. But that's going to need a lot more work, because it's a challenge to take a game that needs a whole screen and smush it into a phone. And that's been something we've been spending, good amount of time designing.
Thank you very much.
Cool, no, thank you.
Ich denke, gerade wie es jetzt weitergehen wird, dass als nächstes größere Sets kommen werden nach Naxxramas, ist sehr interessant. Wir werden da mal die Augen und die Ohren offen halten und euch auf dem Laufenden halten, was die nächsten Infos dazu sein werden.